Good afternoon. I'm gonna name this series American Politics. This ain't it. This ain't it. As you see, an American flag with hues of purple on it flying over a stadium by an expressway because we are the purple states of America. We're not just left, we're not just right, we are comfortably purple, bleeding together, creating different hues of purple depending on how extreme the conversation or topic may be. Yeah. Well, I made this video for a reason. There was a young man who was bragging about Republicans set the slaves free. And, if I were you, I wouldn't be voting for someone who wanted my ancestors to remain as slaves. And he used Google as his resource. And that saddened me first and foremost because that means that our education system has wasted our tax money because the children are, depending on AI and disinformation for them to have a talking point. You see, when I was in school, and I did enjoy history in since elementary school, going all the way through college. I love history and I love politics. Initially, I was a poli sci major, and then I switched and decided to go into behavioral health. But anywho, and I told you all, even parallel to that, I still continued on my political journey after then and made great strides and had great opportunities. All right. So now we're going to go into dealing with this child. As you see here, there is a robust elephant coming out of the jungle. And as you know, elephants represent the Grand Old Party, which it is known as the Republican Party. You see, the Republican Party was established based on the ideological beliefs of Thomas Jefferson. You see, that's what changed the entire landscape in politics. Okay, I ask you to think about why you don't see any more wigs. It is because of Thomas Jefferson, right? So Thomas Jefferson beliefs and concepts for American laws and politics, it led to the Republican Party. That's where you get that from, right? And please keep in mind, they want to tout and brag about, oh, a Republican freed slaves. Well, please keep in mind that Thomas Jefferson, the father of your party, he owned a lot of slaves. You see, documented. Yeah, having children with multiple slaves, traveling with some of his slaves. Yeah, beating, abusing his slaves, stealing their ideas and concepts. And that's good old Thomas Jefferson for you. You see. So let's move on from there. We have the backdrop for the Republican Party. And as I watch ill informed people bragging, that's the only thing they can say the Republican Party has ever afforded to African Americans. That's very telling because we're in the year of my Lord, 2024. And that's all you have to say that would possibly evoke an African American person to get behind your misinformed opinions and antiquated views. You don't have any modern talking points to offer a political discourse. I just wanted to put that out there real quick for you because all you all have been doing for the past 20 years, you're beating a dead horse. Like you have been so busy bullying people that you missed opportunities to really allow your party to evolve and actually have a dog in this fight. And that explains why your candidate keep being who they are because you all are that shallow when it comes to federal politics. You see, you don't want to have real conversations. You want to thumb thug and bully. That's a problem. That's the problem. If you focus on really the greater good of this country instead of defending candidates, you will actually get something done. Because then yeah, that's not leadership. Yeah, I think that's slavery the last time I heard. Yeah, you working for someone else and you're not getting anything out of it, and they're only benefiting and getting what they want. Yeah, yeah, that's slavery. Well, I'm gonna put a pin in that cap. hmm Here you are. You have the Democratic Party. And the thing about the Democratic Party is that its identity swapped. And I'm gonna tell you what changed with the Democratic Party because you have to remember how far it goes back for the Democratic Party. It came all the way down to starting with, you know, the secession that they didn't like the fact that Republican Abraham Lincoln was elected, and less than 6 months into his presidency, South Carolina decided we're going to get up out of here. We're going to go ahead with these other states that are predominantly Southern, and we're going to create our own country, Confederate States of America. And their president was Jefferson Davis. But please understand that historically, the Confederate States of America was never truly acknowledged or deemed an actual country. So what it means is they had the secession, they came up with their own government. However, they were still part of the Union, and that's how they were, identified and still identified in history. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. So now, let me get back to the meat of this. So now we have this change, the whole Robert E. Lee and his history and going and burning down states and all the horrendous things that occurred, during all of this, Confederate States of America. And it did have a tremendous, serious impact on African American citizens. Made no mistakes about it. Okay, none. Okay, and so after that, after they ended up getting beat up during the Civil War, and they decided to get back in line, or your time, your clock about to be punched. So look at this. This happened. They get back in line. They're part of the Union again, as they were, and they now start having branches off from the Democratic Party to really dig their heels in, and they created the Dixie Crats. Now, the problem with these people who love popping their little gums is that a Dixiecrat wasn't and weren't the same as a Democrat. Oh, no, no, no. Their practices, implementations, all of that, totally different. It was more in line with Jefferson Davis's Confederate States of America. That's why they had the Dixie at the beginning. They were not Democrats. So it's erroneous to believe that location determined the political party. That's not true. Okay. So a lot of people want to know, how did the Republican Party and Democratic Party become the entities that they are today? Like, how does that go from Democrats opposing Emancipation Proclamation in a Civil War and Republicans trying to end slavery? How did their identity switch to the Democrats really, 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 truly investing in doing what is right by American citizens? And I'm going to tell you and show you who were uh, responsible for that change and that shift. Is FDR and Eleanor Roosevelt. Yes, the brain behind the New Deal, right? And the second deal, which had programs that has created upward mobility for not just one specific race of people. It has been beneficial to African Americans and white Americans, minors, children, and so forth and so on. The Roosevelt administration created labor laws for children because they had children working in mines, they had children working in factories, including Republicans. Okay. And so they changed the forecast of America because during, before this era of the Roosevelts, the New York elite from the 1800s were running this country by being wealthy. So the most powerful men in the country weren't the president. It was the Astors. It was the Vanderbilts. It was the Rockefellers. It was, those juggernaut families, houses are still dominating, you see, our country, and everyone knows it. All right. They're intermingled with politics. Their children marry politicians and so forth and so on. They're making international deals, so forth, so on. Right. And so Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Eleanor realized that the money wasn't trickling down. It's not making any solutions for our citizens. So guess what came? Social Security, AFDC, public housing, educational programs and resources, integration of different organizations and programs. And so you start seeing an understanding and appreciation and a real conviction coming from the White House that was long term about their convictions, about assisting African Americans and other demographics and populations of this country who were disenfranchised and abused, right? And so he was passionate about it. His wife was passionate about it. I don't know if you remember the opera singer. Her name was Marian Anderson, Black woman, the best opera singer in the entire world. They would not allow her to sing at, I think it was the Metropolitan. It was one of the opera houses in New York, and they would not allow her to sing on their stage. They refused. And so Eleanor got peed off, and that was quite frequent for Eleanor to get peed off, and she gonna make a move. She gonna shake tape. But anyway, Eleanor got her behind on the plane with Marion, and they made a trip. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, they made a trip. They went all the way across the pond. And guess what happened when they got there? Marian Anderson sang and performed for the King of England. So you can't stop greatness. And Eleanor was dead set on that. Honey, she was windmilling and she was shaking tables. Her concepts and ideas also led to the school lunch program that millions and billions of children over the span in its inception has benefited from. Eleanor understood that when children are at school, that may be their only meal for the day, and that was one of her solutions for hunger and starvation. That has evolved to breakfast and lunch for children. And also the USDA, which was part of the New Deal, has expanded to providing food via backpacks for children. Okay. And so I'm just showing you the type of work they put in, and they were Democrats. That is the president duo that shift the purposes and ideological beliefs of the Democratic Party, because they realized this right here that nobody wants to talk about. They had this little crew right here hadn't done anything for African Americans after Emancipation Proclamation. This little crew right here. You see that? This little crew on my screen. That's why they can only mention the Emancipation Proclamation. They didn't do anything else that benefited African Americans until the Roosevelts realized this has to be addressed. This is not right. You had widowers because their husbands were dying, trying to build things, Statue of Liberty and all kinds of stuff. Their husbands were dying. And the next thing you know, you have minors dying too, right? And so they had to change that, though public housing was primarily for those minors' wives who were widows and women who were widows due to their veteran losing his life. And so that's how we went from Democrats to now. I mean, went from Republicans think they have something going on and helping people and did such a big whoop to right now you see the Democratic Party for what it is today, its values, its stances. And I find it interesting that certain people, this little crew right here, love to say how the Democrats don't like families. They're tearing families apart and all of this. But I find it very strange that they have been the ones pouring money into things that will solidify support and upward mobility for families and keeping them together. Yeah, that part. And so let's bring up another figure that they love, you know, using their little bigoted nunchucks for. It is this gentleman right here on my screen. His name, it is Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson. Now, we hear people saying, well, Lyndon B. Johnson was racist and he said they're gonna vote Democrat today, to Democrat tomorrow, Democrat forever. Well, you need to learn how to say things in context, sure. Okay. What he was talking about, it is this right here. This move right here. 1964 Civil Rights Act. Who was president? Who were president at that time? Look on my screen. That guy right there. Him. Him. Can you believe that? Isn't that something? Hmm. Ain't that something? Now, how we get that? So the president that you have all of these rights figures who were presenting themselves, arguing with, discussing with, it was Johnson. But Johnson had a very unique talent that you don't see very often. Based on his personality profile, after researching him for many, many, many years, I have realized, and I came to realize, he has more of a judicial line of thinking when it comes to politics. What I mean by that, he was rational. He separated what he believed and felt personally from what he believed politically and in the facts when it came to politics. Very rare personality profile. I mean, you don't catch people that often who have, that skill set. And when you do, you get greater outcomes with those people than you do with others. But like I was saying, so he put something in motion that changed the forecast of this country for everyone. We're getting ready for the election. Ding, ding, ding. Guess why? Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So while the little people right here love touting and popping their little gums and all of that, now I've made it very clear on their talking points. However, I do have other talking points. I do want to mention and establish the following. Um, like I said, I'm purple right now, and everyone are purple right now. If you're familiar with the Romney campaign and read the notes and read the speeches as I have, and I attended one of his rallies as well, and I've also been to the White House during the Obama administration, during one of their Easter rolls with my daughter. So I have experience and I do look at both sides. That's just my personality. I'm just wired that way. But anyway, if you go back and read Mitt Romney's speeches and also his legislation, things he's done, you will notice something real interesting. Romnomics now showing up in the Democratic Party. I've clocked it. Yeah, I've clocked it 7 times. I've clocked it because, like I said, I pay attention to both sides. So nobody won't backpedal or anything. You don't skate or slide with me. I hold everybody to the same measure. That's me. But Romneynomics showing up in the Democratic Party because of the following. You have more small business owners who are showing up in the Democratic Party. They do need assistance with, they need these tax breaks. You get what I'm saying? So it Romneynomics, when it came to small businesses, it is showing up for Democratic Party, not just presidential elections, but other elections. I've also noted they're having that conversation. And no, they're not calling it Romneynomics, but it's showing up. And also some of the talking points in the Democratic, campaigns from years ago from President Obama, actually, I've clocked that as well, are showing up in the Republican Party, even though they completely sabotage themselves because they turn around and spew just hateful vitriol and they mess up what they're trying to say and be stumbling around and it just turns into, well, you know what it turned into. Okay. And so that is my gap. I hope that this conversation and discourse benefits someone. And I hope this image right here, this beautiful, beautiful rose, reminds you that things, people, situations, and locations change. Do you know why the capital of the United States is no longer in New York? Do you know why? Well, I can tell you why. Someone realize the truth that if New York was attacked, then it would shut down everything. The World Trade Center, it would shut down Wall Street. I mean, everything for us would be shut down. And someone were smart enough to understand that different components of our executive and legislative branches, they have to be located different places, our defense places and all of that. People became very smart and strategic about where they decided things would remain and why they don't remain anymore. If you have ever been to Fort Monroe, that is located in Hampton, Virginia, now, during the Civil War, of course, they were unaliving African Americans because you have to remember that uh, the headquarters for the Confederate States, it was located in Richmond, Virginia. But anyway, at Fort Monroe, it was the only base that actually allowed slaves to be there and protected. All they had to do is make it onto Fort Monroe. And of course, Fort Monroe, it's no longer open or anything. And, it's been given to the state of Virginia. But that's a little bit of history so you can understand things change, places change. Even though that place right there, Fort Monroe, should be in pristine and impeccable care and services because of its historical significance for African Americans surviving the Civil War. And not only that, something extraordinary that our military were doing to protect enslaved people in Virginia. They said it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. They protected from Civil War military personnel and also from pirates as well. And live ammo and everything was used. So I hope you enjoyed that little factoid in this conversation. But I just wanted to tell you how things changed and why they changed and when they changed. Hope you've enjoyed this. Have an awesome and beautiful day in every way. Take care. Bye.